Good evening. We begin to center ourselves and place ourselves in the work of this day of Yom Kippur with the music of Kol Nidrei.
Gomar Tov. One of the very first episodes of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Joel and Midge get into a fight on Erev Yom Kippur. And Joel says, I'm not happy. And Midge looks at him and says, it's Yom Kippur. No one's happy. So often, this is how we think of Yom Kippur, as this day where we punish ourselves, a day where we sit in our regret and shame. But Yom Kippur is actually a day of release. We begin with the words of Kol Nidrei, in which we release ourselves from empty vows. We release ourselves from the scrutiny that we unfairly impose upon ourselves. We release ourselves from the things that we cannot change. We release our fists and open our palms in prayer and reflection. And in a moment, the past presidents of the synagogue will enter with carrying our congregation's Torahs in their hands. We fill our hands on Yom Kippur not with anger, with regret or shame, but with the sacred words of our tradition. Yom Kippur is a day of self-reflection, a day of healing. And fasting is a tool that we use to help us achieve that. However, our tradition is clear that if abstaining from food and water is going to be detrimental to your physical or mental health, we are commanded to not fast. In the hall throughout high holidays, there will be water stations set up in case you're not feeling well, and there are medical professionals and our staff who are here to assist you if you need any assistance. And lastly, throughout our worship, we'll be standing for long stretches of time. If you feel so inclined, please feel free to sit down or remain seated whenever you need. And before we begin, we take a moment also to welcome all those who are joining us virtually over our live stream. And we also take a moment to familiarize ourselves with those whom we are praying with this evening. So I want to invite you to take a moment, turn to the person next to you, behind you, someone who you did not come here with, and to offer them a Gomar Tov, a good Yontif, and to say hello and introduce themselves. As the sun sets, we bring light and warmth into our lives by lighting our candles to welcome in Yom Kippur. It's my honor to invite Sam and Emily Zimmern, Bill and Angie, Abby, and Huntley Zimmern to light our candles.
The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us. Guided by the flame of conscience, on this sacred night we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness. On this atonement night, we give thanks for love.
Maybe we will. Maybe. Sorry. Sorry. This is. Well, I'm trying to get it lit. Well, does anybody have the? Sorry, guys.
It's because it's in a plastic There we go.
No, you're here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la ner shel yom ha-kippurim.
Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Yom Kippur.
I've never seen anyone light those candles easily, so you are in good company. We prepare for Kol Nidrei with the words on page 14. We read responsively. Yom Kippur, the Jewish people's festival of the soul, and Kol Nidrei, its sacred portal, a night of deep emotions, a night, as the psalmist wrote, to rejoice with trembling. We rejoice at the sound of Kol Nidrei, rhythmic words of release from vows, oaths, and promises to God we fail to keep. We tremble at the melody, music of spiritual amazement. It fills us with awe as we stand before God and Torah. We rejoice that we stand together, strengthened by community, in this hour of shared weakness and humility. We tremble. For tonight we confess our flaws, admit our imperfection, and acknowledge a power far beyond our understanding. We rejoice that we commit ourselves to great endeavors because we feel so deeply and think so nobly. We tremble, for we find that our ideals are far greater than our ability. Our promises surpass our might. We rejoice in the freedom that is Kol Nidrei's true gift, the freedom to begin a new year without fear of failure, to aspire to be God's image in the world. We tremble because we are mortal. We rejoice in our gratitude for life. We rejoice with trembling and enter Kol Nidrei to face our humanity. Please rise.
Ule Yisrael With one voice, assembled sages past and present declare, all may pray as one on this night of repentance. Let none be excluded from our community of prayer. With one voice, God and congregation proclaim, all may pray as one on this day of return. Let all find a place in this sacred assembly. Let our speech be pure and our promises sincere. Let our spoken words, every vow and every oath, be honest and well-intentioned. Let our words cause no pain, bring no harm, and never lead to shame, distrust, or fear. And if, after honest effort, we are unable to fulfill a promise, a vow, or an oath, may we be released from its obligation and forgiven for our failure. Let our speech be pure and our promises sincere. All shall be forgiven. The entire community of Israel and the stranger who lives in their midst, for all have gone astray in error. Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt, please forgive their failings now, in keeping with your boundless love. And God responded, I forgive as you have asked.
You may be seated. Page 25. Day and night are yours, creative spirit of the universe, the muted colors of twilight, the radiance of dawn. Yours are the spreading wings of light, the deepening shadows of darkness, and ever-changing drama. Together, in the human heart, too, the struggle between darkness and light unfolds. From sunlit heights of generosity, the human heart sinks to the gloomy depths of selfishness. Although we fall, you give us the strength to rise again. You call on those who hurt through word or deed to break free from wrongdoing and return to you. All who hear your call to goodness are embraced. All who reject emptiness and evil find acceptance from you. We come into your presence this night of Kol Nidrei, aware that our shortcomings and weaknesses are many. Yet, encouraged by your promise of forgiveness, we choose freely the path of repentance, restoring wholeness to our lives and holiness to the world. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk. Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לפניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
The image of the Israelites singing Mi Chamocha after crossing the sea is one of power and hope. Energized by the miracle of the waters parting, there is a wilderness of possibility before them. In these opening days of the new year, we too hope to be inspired and to see endless possibilities before us.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות וספלת, מלכותך רוב עליך, בוקע היום לפני משה ומרים, זה
Together, page 43. When fears multiply and danger threatens, when sickness comes, when death confronts us, it is God's blessing of shalom that sustains us and upholds us, lightening our burden, dispelling our worry, restoring our strength, renewing our hope, reviving us.
Amen. בסוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני, ברוך הוא ברוך שמו, הפורש סוכת שלום, עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Page 45. כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם לטהר אתכם, מכל חטאותיכם לפני אדוני תטהרו. For on this day atonement shall be made for you to purify you from all your wrongs, and pure you shall be in the presence of Adonai. We rise for the Amidah, page 46.
That my mouth may declare your praise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Uma'avi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava.
והחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל.
Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, utoshim b'chol yom yehalucha sela. You are holy, your name is holy. Seekers of holiness praise you day by day. Selah.
If we could only look at the world not with fears of other people, but with awe of God. If we could only refrain from comparing ourselves with others and realize instead that each of us is an absolutely unique model of the image of God. May all your creatures be filled with awe for you and know that you are sovereign, working together in harmony to do your will.
Grant glory to your people, joy and gladness to its land. May those who stand in awe of you know hope and confidence, fulfillment and salvation. Bring near the day, O God, when all will have reason to be glad, when suffering will be turned to song and tyranny shall vanish like smoke.
Holy One, help us stand in awe of all your creatures, that even in the face of thoughtless words we might read the holy thought from which they grew. Help us stand in awe of you and gently place that awe on all your creatures, that as one harmonious community we might do your awesome will with one united heart.
Kadosh ata v'norah shemecha ve'ein Eloah mipaladecha kakatuv vayikba Adonai tzivot b'mishpat ve'ha'el hakadosh nikdash b'tzedakah. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMelech HaKadosh.
Our silent prayers are an invitation to clear our hearts and to clear a path, to clear a path in our hearts. Because our silent prayers help us to provide us with purpose and strength in a moment of meaningful peace. We continue in silence. We continue with the words on the pages of the Machzor, and this is an explicit invitation for you to get lost. to get lost on the pages, to get lost in the prayers of our hearts, or in that silence that gives you a moment of peace.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech hador, lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech hador, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam.
There was once a small town in a wine-producing region of Eastern Europe. An important rabbi, on his way to a larger city, was going to stop by the village to visit on his way. The town was so excited to welcome this rabbi, and they couldn't figure out how can we properly welcome him. And they realized we're a wine-producing town. Why don't we build a great big cask? And every single day, members of the community will take their best red wine and pour it into this giant barrel. So when the rabbi comes, we can pour it out and we can share in the joy that is our great contribution, and it'll be wonderful. And they all decided that was a great plan. But one villager went home and he said to his wife, we're really not that rich. And we know that everyone else is going to put wine in the cask, so no one would notice if we just put water in instead, right? So that's what they did every day. And finally, the rabbi arrived for the big celebration. He took his cup, walked up to the cask, turned on the faucet, but instead of deep red wine, just clear water. There was nothing but water. You see, everyone in the town thought the same way that Mendel did, assuming that their lack of contribution would go unnoticed. The rest of the community would pick up the slack. Kol Yisrael Arvim Ze Bazeh, all of Israel is responsible for one another. When we recite the Vidui, our confession of sin, each and every statement is written in the plural. The sin we have committed against you. Our confession is not about individual atonement, but rather communal atonement. We all know that there have been days when we poured some water into the cask, and we know that there are days when our neighbors did the same. And so we stand here together as one community, atoning for our sins, for our mistakes, a reminder that it is all of our responsibilities to make sure that the barrel is filled not with water, but with the sweetest wine. Please rise, page 82.
Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, tavo lefanecha tefilateinu, ve'ol titalam mitchinatenu, she'en anachnu azefanim ukshei oref lomar lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu tzadikim anachnu v'lo chatanu
Please be seated. We continue on page 86 with our Vidui Rabbah. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. Ve'al kulam Elohai slichot, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Ve'al kulam elo selichot, silach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. Be'al kolam Elohai slichot, slach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Ve'al kulam elo selichot, silach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu. Ve'al kulam elo selichot, silach lanu, mechal lanu, silach lanu, mechal lanu, kaper lanu.
We continue on page 106.
Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Our God and God of our ancestors, we are your people, and you are our God. So forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Ki anu amecha ve'ata Eloheinu, anu vanecha ve'ata avinu, anu avadecha ve'ata Adonenu, anu
Page 112. Avinu Malkeinu ha'er lanu et derech chayenu. Avinu Malkeinu, illumine for us the path of our life. Together, Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the strength to take the road less traveled by? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we come to know the purpose of our existence? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we learn not to live life in vain? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we get out of our indifference? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we distinguish between truth and falsehood? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the answers to our questions? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we gird ourselves with strength to seek answers?
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu,
When I was in the 4th grade, my mother received a phone call from one of the leaders of my Girl Scout troop. That afternoon at our troop meeting, we had been making up a skit, and I had made up our pretend names. I had given the troop leader's daughter the last name Goy. The mom was a little upset, but it turns out that 4th grade Beth had no idea that Goy was a derogatory term, and I had just used whatever name came to mind. So my mother explained to me how Goy was sometimes used in a negative way to describe non-Jewish people. I apologized and have never forgotten the lesson. My memory of this day, however, is now tinged with a little bit of irony. This non-Jewish mom did not want her daughter to feel like an outsider in our largely Jewish Girl Scout troop. Please understand me, it was totally appropriate for her to make the phone call and totally appropriate for my mom to pass on the lesson. I guess I just wish the scenario played out so smoothly every time a Jewish child is made to feel like an outsider. Every time any person is made to feel like an outsider because of their most basic and core identity. 10 days ago on Rosh Hashanah, we celebrated the creation of the world. The Torah tells us that God took the earth from being tohu vavohu, unformed and void, chaotic and desolate, to being beautiful, ordered, and full of life. But the world does not feel beautiful and ordered anymore. Hateful rhetoric is directed toward people of different races, religions, ethnicities, genders, sexualities, political orientations, and on and on. This rhetoric has brought chaos and bleakness back into the world. But we don't have to stay stuck in the void and darkness as it was at the beginning of the story of creation. We can find inspiration near the end, when on the 6th day, God created Adam in God's own image. We can find inspiration by asking why. Why did God create the first person alone? Why didn't God create a whole mess of people all at once, a beautifully diverse humanity from the very beginning? According to the rabbis of the Talmud, it was for the sake of peace. God created Adam alone so that in the future, one person could not say to another, "My ancestor is greater than yours." Do not think for a moment, though, that the ancient rabbis were so naive as to think that there were no quarrels in the world. They follow up their suggestion with the comment that given that Adam was created alone, and still each family claims superiority, imagine what the world would be like if 2 people had been created initially. The world that the rabbis imagine is a world where people relate to one another with the knowledge that each one of us was created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God, and descended from Adam, and therefore each person is deserving of all the dignity and value inherent in every human being. Anti-Semitism, racism, homophobia, any kind of prejudice against a group of people because of their identity violates this sacred principle. In the same Talmudic passage where the rabbis celebrate our united our united ancestry through Adam, they also celebrate our diversity. When a human king stamps coins with his image, each one comes out looking the same. But when God, the King of Kings, stamps God's own image on human beings, not one resembles another. The hate speech heard in our country today maligns rather than celebrates our differences. Those who speak it see diversity as threatening and justification for ranking one group above another. Anti-Semitism is often called the oldest form of hate, going back thousands of years. It is notoriously adaptable, used by different groups across time and geography, drawing on long-standing lies and stereotypes to blame the Jewish people for every variety of hardship and tragedy. Anti-Semitism, scholars point out, is unique among the types of hate because Jews are simultaneously cast as both strong and weak. According to the Anti-Defamation League, it does so through contradictory logic that envisions Jews as both excessively powerful and as weak and subhuman. Furthermore, anti-Semitism does not exist in isolation. It is interwoven with other forms of prejudice. It is an animating force of modern white supremacist movements. We cannot ignore it. It will not go away, and its presence threatens not only our own community, but other minority communities and the very foundation of our democracy. Sadly, reaction to the coronavirus pandemic has followed the pattern of so many calamities before it. Some conspiracy theorists have blamed a Jewish cabal for causing the pandemic in order to gain control of the world, while others have simultaneously blamed Jews for creating the vaccines in order to make money off the suffering of others. These past several years have seen a sharp rise in anti-Semitism across the United States. In 2021, the ADL tabulated 2,717 anti-Semitic incidents in the United States, the highest number on record since the ADL began its tracking in 1979. The American Jewish Committee's extensive survey of American Jews in 2021 found that 4 in 10 American Jews had changed their behavior out of fear of anti-Semitism. They had stopped wearing a Jewish necklace or chose not to post something online that identified them as Jews. Anti-Semitic incidents reported to our own Jewish Federation of Greater Charlotte tripled in 2021. These numbers have led our federation to launch Outshine Hate, a new initiative designed to combat anti-Semitism through education and community building right here in Charlotte, an initiative we should all participate in. But the statistics I have cited, while they capture the enormity of the problem, they can also leave us frozen. They can leave us wondering how we as individuals can possibly push back against the world's oldest hatred, how we can disrupt a pattern of prejudice that has repeated itself over and over again. But we would not be here tonight, engaging in this period of spiritual introspection, if we did not believe that change within ourselves is possible, and that by changing ourselves, we can positively influence the world around us. We should, of course, continue to stand together as a community in the face of public, violent, or large-scale acts of anti-Semitism. But at the same time, we can commit as individuals to pushing back against more subtle expressions of anti-Semitism. Many of us, dare I say most of us in this room, have heard people in our everyday circles make casual comments about Jews. Comments that draw on stereotypes of Jews as greedy, comments that place blame on Jews today for the killing of Jesus almost 2,000 years ago. Comments that exaggerate the actions of one Jewish person to be representative of an entire people. And many of these comments were made by people we consider friends and colleagues, and were made without malicious intent. And so we tend to shrug them off. They didn't know what they said was offensive. She's my friend, and didn't mean it like it sounded. He's smart. I'm sure he doesn't actually believe what he said. If all of these explanations we tell ourselves are really true, then we do not have to respond with anger or condemnation. If no harm was intended, we should be able to just approach the person who said these words with the goal of sharing our experience and promoting understanding. But even with this framework, calling out a friend or colleague for making an anti-Semitic remark is still hard, really hard. It can immediately change the mood of a room from casual to serious. It brings our Judaism out front and center. It provokes defensiveness. But it is important work for us to do. The perpetuation of these types of comments allows more dangerous expressions of hate to take hold and to grow. The ADL challenges us. We must never normalize even seemingly harmless forms of hate-based prejudice. Silence and complacency in the face of biased remarks or actions permit others to internalize harmful messages, making such messages commonplace. Saying something helps to invalidate stereotypes and encourages people to view others as individuals rather than as a monolithic group. It demonstrates that prejudices and intolerances of any kind are not acceptable. Advocating for ourselves promotes an environment where others are able to proudly be themselves as well. There is one additional explanation that people often give for comments that rely on anti-Semitic tropes. It's okay. I'm Jewish. I'm making fun of myself. We think to ourselves, what's the harm of Jews making Jewish jokes? Potentially, I believe the harm can be quite severe. The Jewish legal concept that can best explain my fears about the casual way we ourselves use Jewish stereotypes and slurs within our own community is called Marit Ayin, literally the appearance to the eye. Marit Ayin states that actions which might appear to surrounding people to be in violation of a Jewish law, when in reality they're not, are still not allowed, so as to prevent people from making a false conclusion. Let me explain. A classic Talmudic example of Marit Ayin is what to do if you fall into a stream on a Jewish holy day and your clothes get wet. The rabbis prohibit you from laying your clothes out to dry in public. Letting your clothes dry does not by itself break any commandments. So why do the rabbis care? They care because someone who sees the wet clothes might assume that you were doing laundry on a day when work is forbidden. The rabbi's concern, though, is not that that witness might mistakenly attribute the sin of doing laundry to their neighbor. Their concern is the witness may conclude that doing the laundry is in fact permissible and go and do their own laundry. So now back to Jews making fun of ourselves. We justify our use of identity-charged jokes and slurs by saying that we only use them when we're in an insular group, when we're with people who know that we're just joking. But how careful are we? Do we possess such self-control that we mentally go through every person in a room before sharing a joke when it pops into our head? Do we know all of our friends well enough to decide on their behalf that our words will not offend them? Can we really trust that when our stories and stereotypes are shared, that they will be retold with the same nuances and sense of irony that made them acceptable when we said them? The concept of Marit Ayin suggests that we need to seriously re-examine our own use of language. It suggests that jokes, stereotypes, and terms that we may be using in a safe space and in ways that we perceive to be harmless may give someone else the impression that it is okay to go and use them in ways that are more blatantly harmful and anti-Semitic. Marit Ayin places a burden on us. It tells us that we are not only responsible for our own behavior, but for the behavior of others. We not only have to consider our own actions, but how our actions will be perceived and adopted by others. Essentially, Marit Ayin tries to remove the guesswork of what is right and wrong. We need to remove the ambiguity around harmful Jewish stereotypes and anti-Semitic rhetoric so that we can eliminate it. And while this might mean that we lose a few laughs poking fun at ourselves, maybe we permanently erase some of the lies that have been used to harm our people for centuries. Tonight, I also want to share one more dangerous outcome that I perceive from the ongoing use of Jewish stereotypes. When we reinforce or even joke about stereotypes that characterize what Jews are like, we divide our community. We suggest, however subconsciously it may be, that people who don't fit the stereotypes are not truly part of our community. If every Jew is white and has dark curly hair, if every Jew is dripping in wealth, and if no Jew is handy, and no Jew is athletic, a lot of us would need to leave the room. Today's Jewish community, especially our Temple Bethel community here in Charlotte, is amazingly diverse. The members of this community cover the full array of skin color, hair color, body type, height, wealth, occupation. The members of this community are multifaceted, potentially identifying with multiple minority groups. We cannot fight against anti-Semitism, other people labeling us as other, if we are making people within our own community feel that they are other. We cry out against anti-Semitism, saying that Jews are diverse and not monolithic. But do we express that same value internally? We are diverse. We are not monolithic. I want to be really clear, though. None of the steps that I have suggested tonight mean that we as Jews bring anti-Semitism on ourselves, or that we are solely responsible for ending anti-Semitism. But we do have agency to make change, to speak up for what is right, to educate others, and to be aware of the language that we use. Tomorrow afternoon, we will read from the Torah the commandments, "You are not to hate your fellow in your heart," and "Love your neighbor as yourself." In the coming year, how can we personally live out these commandments? How can we help the world live with less hate and more love? By having the courage to speak up, the patience to choose our words carefully, and the openness to embrace all who find their home with us. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will.
We rise with the words of Aleinu on page 116.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ.
Page 122. There are only a few other prayers that have as tight of a hold on the soul of the Jewish people as does the mourner's Kaddish. We often say that the purpose of the Kaddish is to affirm life, to thank God, and to express love for those whose lives are no more. But there are other purposes as well. Because the Kaddish affirms our humanity, because when we remember their smile and their hug, their words that they often mispronounced, the political banter that we wish they didn't bring up, the jokes they shared, the recipes they made, their love lives on. Their love lives on in us. It's often said that you only live once, but it's not really true. You only die once. Every day, we are reminded of them. Every day, we remember them. Every day, we embrace that memory. And we honor our loved ones now with the words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal vayitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayo d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulamei olamaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela ule'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata. Da'amiram be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Osei shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Amen. I think it was Ecclesiastes who wrote, there's a time to kvel and there's a time to kvetch. There's a time to kvel. I want to thank our ushers and our greeters and our board and our medical volunteers and our Shalom Park partners and our phenomenal staff and clergy who work hard to make our high holiday experiences so special. Our teen leaders have taken seriously that there are many people in our city who are fasting, not out of personal choice or religious obligation, but because of food insecurity. And they are leading this year our High Holiday Hunger Drive. Please donate and support our teens and their fundraising efforts at templebethel.org/hunger. There's going to be some QR codes on your way out. And we also sent an email to the congregation yesterday that if you want to help to donate to the Hurricane Ian relief, you may donate to our disaster relief fund. Tomorrow, we have a full day of services, and it is a time not only to experience services for our young people, with our young people in the morning, and then our congregational service at 11 o'clock, but then there's also in the afternoon 4 great study options from 2 to 3. The Jewish Path to Flourishing in the New Year with Rabbi Nichols and myself in the Archer Chapel. Right Now with Ellen Reich on Yom Kippur in the Jonathan Howard Boardroom or on Zoom, for those who are joining on Zoom. This is a writing reflection opportunity, no writing experience necessary, and we're going to provide you with all the tools and prompts. There's also our Yom Kippur Torah Yoga with Rabbi Schindler and Ali Faber, and it's going to be at the Gorelick Hall and on Zoom, and we invite you to bring your mat, your blocks, your blankets, to bring it all with you and to go to Gorelick Hall to have your Torah Yoga. You do not need to be dressed in a suit. In fact, don't dress in a suit for that. That's not a good choice. And then Rabbi Erdheim will be leading also a mindfulness and meditation experience in the Larry and Dale Polsky Beit Midrash. Our healing service and Yizkor is going to begin at 3:30 p.m. And it's a beautiful service, and we're going to be using this prayer book for the first time for that service, so it's a whole brand new experience. A few other announcements. First, if you want to go to Israel, we want you to come. I want to invite you to travel with me to Israel. We're going to be having a session, an informational session on October 16th at 11:30 a.m. You can go online and search for Israel trip at templebethel.org, and you will see information about it. We'd love to have you come with us this coming June. Adult education. On your way out, you will see that there is a lot of adult education opportunities this year. And I want to make sure that you find a lifelong Jewish learning information booklet, as well as our year in advance with all sorts of opportunities for programming and things that are happening this year. We have so many things that are just wonderful opportunities to gather, to celebrate, to learn, to deepen your Jewish identity, to connect with others, to build relationship, and we want you to take advantage of awesome opportunities, both in person and online. Also, Zman Simchatenu, our season of rejoicing is coming up. We're going to have awesome Sukkot experiences, our Social Justice and Action Tribe Lunch on October 9th, and our religious school experience that morning. We're going to have a Sukkot evening with jazz under a full moon, also on October 9th at 6 p.m. We're going to invite you to take a hike with us. I said to get lost earlier, but now I'm inviting you to take a hike with me. And also the Temple Bethel Outdoors Tribe on October 15th at 10:30 in the morning. And we have lots of congregational Simchat Torah brunch and gathering as well. The high holy days do not end at Yom Kippur. They go through Simchat Torah, and we invite you to participate, to celebrate, and to find ways to join together. We're going to conclude our service with a postlude, and just want to say Gemar Chatima Tova and an easy fast for all who are fasting. Happy New Year, Shana Tova.
Gmar Tov.